All right. Welcome to my channel and the first episode of the Skyoo D-Vu P.O.V blog or vlog, or it's vlog show. I haven't figured that part out yet. Basically, it's a YouTube extension of my blog. A little bit about me, or what I'll talk to you today about on the show. This is a long project that's been I'm working on in a while already. Just hadn't really figured out how I was going to do it, so this is going to be a learning experience for me, and I hope you guys will bear with me as I become a little more professional in doing this. I'm testing a couple of different things out. I have my iPad in front of me, right below the camera. I'm shooting this on my iPhone, and off to the side I have the screen duplicated from the iPad on a little bit larger monitor, hoping that it becomes a little bit more natural for me to look at and focus on the camera versus the screen. Well, anyways, here we go. So what I'd like to talk today about is a little bit about myself. Then I have some comments about this weekend's Formula One race in Melbourne. I'm a huge Formula One fan. Maybe a little bit biased on that because I'm a Ferrari guy. I have been watching Formula One. Well, we'll get into that when I go for it. And last thing I was going to do today, also is to talk about a little car I saw on the road today, and maybe something like a test drive I'm going to try to arrange for. We'll see about that. And some upcoming projects for the show. So let's get right into it. So I'm an American. I live here in Germany. I'm actually half German. My father's American, and so I'm what you'd call a military brat. I've lived here most of my life. Currently, I work in a job supporting the U.S. Military station in Germany, civilian capacity. And then I also have a second job where I work to sell consumer electronics to the U.S. service members and their family members. As far as my interests go, I'm a huge automobile nut, car nut you call it. Huge F1 fan, so we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. It's one of the focuses, at least for this episode. And I'm a Tifosi, so I'm a huge Ferrari fan. My plans for the show, well, I'll be doing some of these vlogs. I also would like to do some test drives that I'd like to present. I actually have already done one test drive, so the filming is in the can. I just haven't gotten around to editing it yet, and I didn't want to delay the launch of this show just based on that video, so I decided to do one of these here in my office. And then upcoming project is I have an Audi A6 2004 I got off eBay. And I have some plans for that. I'm probably going to sell it at some point. I mean, that's the eventual plan, is to flip it and maybe make a little bit of money, but it's a great car. It's the A6, it's a Quattro with the 2.7 V6 engine in it, so I've never driven a Quattro vehicle before, so I'm kind of looking, getting excited about getting that back on the road and up and running. So that's some things you can look forward to in the show. So on to the Melbourne Grand Prix of 2018. Wow, what a race. Vettel and Ferrari took it from Hamilton and won the race. That was total shocker. I mean, because if you looked at the qualification or the qualies for the race, Hamilton absolutely blew the competition away. I mean, Mercedes is going to be so dominant again this year. If you looked at the difference, it was like, what, about 0.8 of a second between Hamilton and Vettel in the Q3 process. So unreal. And then the virtual safety car came out, and Ferrari strategy, the pit was on top of it. They got him out off the track, tire change, back out again, and totally stumped Mercedes. I mean, it was an absolute shock. And of course, in the interviews later on, Mercedes team members, team principal Toto Wolff and Hamilton himself both said that it was a timing miscalculation of software, which is, if you think about the investment they've made, or that these teams make in Formula One and all the technology that's involved, it's kind of a stunner that they miscalculated. But those are the little chances. That's where you've got to get to take advantage and be able to win a race. As tight as these races are, Formula One, yeah, it's seconds, microseconds. It's just making a decision at the right time is a giant factor. And then on that whole subject of timing, I've got to be straight up. Even though I've been following Formula One pretty consistently now since 1992, maybe 1 or 2 year gaps, whatever, due to moving around and not being having a feed available to me, a video to be able to watch the races, and just catching it on newspapers and magazines on. I just have to admit, amazingly, I just now figured out how the whole timing figures, hundredths, tenths, thousandths of a second. I always saw the timing broadcast on the screen, but it always threw me off. So I finally, in prep for this video, decided to look that up so I get a little bit smarter about it, and I'm glad I did. And while doing that, I stumbled across a great site called atlasf1autosport.com, and I read through a section on there about F1 timing, which was a really impressive article, and I'll put that link in the show, the bottom of the notes here for the show. But just one quote from that article is, it takes 16 on-site technicians to install and operate the 10 tons of various equipment, as well as the 130 individual TV monitors that have to be transported to each Grand Prix in at least 100 different containers. That is absolutely nuts. I had no clue. That is unbelievable. Totally puts the whole infrastructure behind F1 in a whole new light for me. And speaking of insight, if you're just learning about Formula One, or even if you've been into it as long as I have, you should definitely check out Amazon Prime's the Amazon Prime channel. They have, is it a channel? Well, video on demand feed, I guess, streaming service. They had a four-part episode called Grand Prix Driver, with Van Dorn and Alonso at McLaren, and the whole 2017 season when they took on the Honda F1, had the Honda F1 engines, and how that then culminated at the end of the 2017 season, them announcing that they would be ending the relationship with Honda and moving to Renault. So I got a chance to see that before the season started, and it was really cool to see some insight, get some back behind the scenes insights on how F1 is handled. So that was really cool. So I would recommend you all watch that. It's definitely cool. And then, of course, this is the beginning of a new era for Formula One, since the American owners took over last year, and I think they wanted to emphasize that new era by rebranding the F1 logo. So if you download the F1 app from the iTunes, or from the App Store from Apple, and maybe even Google Play, I'd assume Google Play as well for you Android users, they've changed the logo from the old one, and it's kind of a stylized right-hand turn. It's kind of cool, not too bad. We'll get used to it, I'm sure, but I don't really see what was too bad with the old logo. But snafu on that, if you go to the website, it's really interesting. The race results on the site still had the old logo on it. I thought that was interesting. So they're still playing catch up, but you would have kind of thought in this day and age, and how important social media and things like that is, and the internet, you'd have thought that they would have had the entire website revamped, but they haven't. Adding to that snafu rebrand in the Melbourne Grand Prix race, the German newspaper Bild Zeitung, which is sort of like the New York Times. I'm not really sure what the American equivalent would be, but I think it's the New York Times, not the New York Post. Or is it the New York Post? Anyways, one of those yellow press type newspapers. Interesting term, yellow press. You ought to go look that up if you're much younger than I am. You may have not heard the term before. It might give you a whole new insight on this whole thing that we hear about always about fake news. It's been around, and fake news is actually old news, in my opinion. Anyways, back to the race. The rebrand the other snafu rebrand was in the Bild side. Then they had a shot from a drone, I guess it was, and looking down on Parc Fermé, where the three podium finishers parked the cars, and the signs that directed them where the number 1, 2, and 3 cars should be parked still had the old F1 logo on there as well. So just an interesting side note to caught my attention. Thought maybe you'd like it too. Another part of the rebrand, seeing as it's an American corporation is taking over, I guess they have been somewhat or are influenced heavily by what goes on in American culture right now, and we've gotten caught up in the whole Me Too thing, I assume. So, no grid girls. Yeah, I guess it's not a huge loss. I mean, it was always nice to see pretty ladies before a race, but I guess they, as an American corporation, didn't want to get any flack from the American news media. And it is a rebrand of the race, and so they are introducing new ideas and new concepts, and I think they've done a great job already in the first year. 2017 season brought a lot of cool stuff, and it continues so for the 2018 season. Interesting, another snafu on their website, other than showing the old logo on the qualifying results and race results, also they had a little video, sort of like an introductory video to the Formula 1 race in Melbourne, and they had some footage on there, which threw me off, because in there, they did have the grid girls waltzing in Melbourne, and they had some footage on there, which threw me off, because in there, they did have the grid girls waltzing, welcome to Australia, and then there was also a little sequence later in the video where it shows them interviewing, I assume, an Australian celebrity, and there were grid girls behind it, but the German TV show, or the German TV channel RTL, where I watched the race on their video on demand streaming site, on their site, it was interesting to note they actually made a point at the beginning of the race to point out that there were no grid girls, and then later on, as Vettel and Raikkonen were racing up the steps to go to the podium for the champagne shower, the past used to have the grid girls lined up there, sort of, I don't know, in like a quarter. They run through the gauntlet, and they were gone there, and they made point to point that out as well. So I thought that was kind of funny. And the last thing I want to talk today about was the car of the week segment, I guess I've dubbed it. We'll see. It's subject of the week. I'll figure that out as time goes on. Anyways, I spotted this on the road earlier this week, and it is a BAIC Motors BJ20, which is a Chinese SUV. So the Chinese have had a couple attempts at breaking the European market, and I'm not sure, but I think they're probably doing okay in places like Spain and Italy, maybe Portugal, and parts of France. But in Germany, they had brought in a Landwind a couple years ago, and the Landwind was like a knockoff of, I want to say it was a knockoff of it was a knockoff of the BMW X5. Or was that it? No. That's right. They were trying to sell that, but I don't know if it was Landwind. But the Landwind was sort of looked almost like a Isuzu Rodeo, the one that was the second generation, the one that was kind of smallish and rounded body style. Anyways, tangent. So anyways, this 2018 BJ20 that I saw on the road is about the size of a 2018 Jeep Cherokee. I thought it looked pretty cool. I really like the concept vehicle pictures that are going to be posted here on the screen, better than the actual one. I mean, if they sold the way the concept vehicles were kind of rough and rugged and wider, sort of off-roady tires, more, it looks really cool, I think. Styling, yeah, there's influences of retro. They've obviously stolen some design influences from Jeep and the H3 Hummer. But interesting enough, in my search to find pictures, I found a website called indimo.eu, and it looks like there's an authorized dealer in the next town over. So, being the case, I'm going to see if I can talk to them, see if I can arrange a test drive, and if I'm lucky, you'll be seeing it on this channel, so stay tuned. That's it. I hope you like this episode. Subscribe if you like, and take care till next time.